tiles, so you're kind of forced to use green heroes, but Frigg still deals damage if you have green heroes. Same thing with Odin, all these characters. Thank you so much for checking out the video. Today I'm going to be discussing the brand new hero that just came out, Exeera. Kind of an interesting character that they released. I'm going to go through all the ins and outs and also talk about how good she is on offense, defense, as well as against Titans. So if you aren't already, make sure you subscribe to the channel. If you're used to people saying, hey, subscribe to the channel, just watch to the end and then you'll be like, all right, yeah, this is worth subscribing to. So starting off, she's got a barbarian class talent, which honestly isn't really that great in terms of the different talents. Is one of the least desirable abilities. But one important thing is that she has this incredibly awesome passive ability, which is that she starts the battle with mana. This hero receives 20% mana at the start of the battle, which is really, really important. I'm going to go through, watch till the end, because I can explain exactly how that works with mana troops and everything like that, especially with her being at average speed. She also is an underwild hero, so obviously you get the gem. If you got multiple of them, we know how that works. As far as her stats go, she has 791 on her attack, 776 on her defense, and 1390 on her health. As far as her stats go, they're about a little bit above average, nothing too crazy, no outliers there. The attack stat at 791 is pretty decent, which doesn't really impact her too much because her damage that she deals with her ability is mostly based on a dot, which is what a damage over time. So she is running at average speed, but she does start the battle off with 20% mana, which is absolutely relevant. So I have this mana regeneration chart here, and this kind of shows you how things work. If you guys are curious a little bit more in depth on how all this works, I have a link to the video where I discuss all this, talks about the troops and everything like that. So I'm not going to bore you with it too much, but if you do want a little bit more in depth, just click that video right there. So with this, with an average hero, normally it takes 10 tiles for them to charge up and fire off their hero special. However, with her starting off at 20%, it's going to take 8. But we're seeing here if you have a level 23 mana troop, it's only going to take 9, which is essentially with the 20% is going to take 7. So it'll only take 7 tiles to charge her, which means that she is running at fast speed, essentially, the very first time. So that's really important. It is kind of lackluster in terms of the average versus the fast, but for her, it's super relevant because you want to have more tiles on the board. So I'll discuss that in a bit. But her ability deals 237 water damage and increases 33 damage per each ice shield on the board over 3 turns, up to 633 damage. This effect is uncleansable for all fire enemies, and all ice enemies are immune to this attack. So I did the math for you. 237 to get her max out at 633 is going to be 12 tiles. So when you consider that she's running at fast speed, essentially, it's going to take 7 tiles. And then if you have the mana troop again, it's very important that you have the mana troop at level 23. And then you add the 12 tiles. So it'll take about 19 tiles for her to max out on the first time. But she has a situation where if you have ice enemies, they just say that doesn't really matter. So 633 damage, it does seem kind of like a lot, but it is over 3 different turns. It is one of the higher of the dots, but this is at average speed, aka fast speed in her case. The biggest issue that I have against Exeera is that if she is really good on defense, like a problem, as soon as you bring ice, it just negates her completely. Where that just doesn't work against heroes like Frigg. You know, Frigg, as we know, really, really great hero, punishes you if you don't use green tiles. So you're kind of forced to use green heroes, but Frigg still deals damage if you have green heroes. Same thing with Odin. All these characters that are specific on you, you have to use those tiles up or you're going to take damage. Exeera, you just get around it by bringing blue heroes and you call it a day. So that's a big issue that I have against her, is that she can very easily be disrupted in terms of what she does. Not to mention her damage that she deals, it is over time. So even at her max damage at 633, that's going to be 211 over 3 turns. You take that 3 times, and it can just be prevented. So red also has a lot of heroes that will make it so that they can't have status ailments put on them. For instance, Garnet, she's very good at that. Also Grazul, they're immune to all the status effects. So that gets beyond the whole, this effect is uncleansable for all fire enemies. So you can just bring a character that just makes it so you can't put status ailments on your heroes and get beyond it. Especially obviously after she runs at average speed. Now after she goes off at her first time at fast speed, now she is running at average speed. It's going to take a lot longer for her to fire, and you should definitely have something for it. It's not a character I'm really that worried about, especially considering blue has so many amazing characters. So on defense, I think that she could be used, but probably not my first concern or my first priority in terms of leveling up heroes, because you have so many different ways that you can just get around her, and she does literally nothing. Having a hero that does literally nothing is definitely not a good idea. So in terms of her on offense, I think that she has some playability, but again, we're in a situation where if you really want to maximize her damage and what she does, you're dependent on tiles being on the board and dependent on those firing off. So the first charge at 7, you want to have an additional 12. That's a lot. Like that's 19 tiles of blue that you want on the board. And you're probably going to be strong in that color. So if she's firing on offense, you're probably just going to win that game in general, especially if you're playing like mono. Having her and then having the 7 tiles and then having an additional 12 tiles, you're probably just going to win that regardless of whether or not she goes off, because you make those matches, you make those moves, you're probably just going to kill them. So I'm not that big on her, especially considering, again, she doesn't deal any damage to anything that has ice. That's also the initial damage as well too. So people are like, oh no, she'll take, no, they're immune to this attack just flat out if they're ice. So where we see with other characters, they deal the damage and then they take damage over time. No, her damage over time starts the very first time that she goes off, which means that it's not direct damage in the very beginning. So I'm not that big of a fan of her on offense. Again, make sure you subscribe, turn notifications on. In terms of the Titans, another situation I'm not that stoked about. She does have the 791 attack, but beyond that, she's not really going to help you out on the Titan battles or anything like that. She doesn't help the stack of a Titan stack, so I'm not a big fan of her there. So guys, let me know in the comments, what do you guys think? Did you guys get her? Did this kind of bug you or anything like that? Let me know if I'm just missing something. I played with her in beta. I remember using her and remember feeling like this character was completely underwhelming, and they released her completely underwhelming as well too. So I really appreciate all the support. Make sure you subscribe, and I'll see you on the next video.